if you have the right appliance in your home, you can pivot. You can use that appliance to make your life easier. A lot of this stuff you could start prepping on a Monday or a Tuesday for a Thursday or a Friday dinner service at home. And when the weather changes, or you're gonna do the seafood on the grill, and that's enough to handle. Seafood falling through the cracks, you're chasing the vegetables all over the place. But some of our friends don't eat seafood, and some of our friends don't eat beef. So why don't you focus on one and let your 5-in-1 do the other? So what you can see here is in about 19 minutes, I've got that blue cheese crusted, center cut Chateaubriand. That's the fancy word. That's where you can charge $5 more a plate if you know what that means. And you pop it right down on your plate and it's perfectly cooked. Now, to go along with some of these things though, we need side dishes, don't we? It's not always about the centerpiece of the meal. I've said this before, when we think about our appliances, we think, how's it gonna make the chicken? How's it gonna make my steak? You know, the big money part of that plate. But what about those side dishes? What about just roasting the chicken salad? What about just roasting potatoes for potato salad? Roasting corn for corn salad? Or what about the times when we get in the kitchen? And I'm so guilty of this because, and Joe and Brian are gonna talk here just in a second, and they'll tell you, you know, we plan and we plan and we plan our menus, and then we design kitchens to flow around them. And then we go home just to make burgers for the family after doing a million tasks perfectly. And we put down the burgers and we're so hungry, and they know what I'm gonna say. And we go, where's the asparagus? Where's the side dishes? Shoot, I forgot them. Or we only had enough, just enough for everybody, and 6 of them fell through the grates on the grill. Do you go out and preheat the grill again and start that process over? No, normally we cook them in a way that we're not happy with. And that's because we don't have the right appliance behind us with the 5-in-1. The 5-in-1, again, no preheat time. You don't have to worry about the asparagus. There's plenty of grill flavor on everything else. And some of the stuff Joe and Brian are gonna share with you, you know, there's plenty of flavor in there already. So to use the 5-in-1 oven really quickly, just to do our roasted vegetables, whether we're on the grill, whether we're making lasagna in the oven, is technically having a sous chef at home work for you. Because now it's not my problem, it's the 5-in-1's problem. And with the push of a button, we get that clock to go away. We bring up our precision cooking, that's our speed cooking. We're gonna hit fresh, I like that. We're gonna go over to vegetables, sure. Roasted or stuffed, these are roasted. Asparagus, 4 to 8 ounces. Then it tells me to use a tray because it comes with a flat metal tray that I can roast these asparagus on. Or if, again, you can't get the pork chop out to the grill, or you don't have a grill, maybe you live in a high rise and there's no balcony and you still want some grill flavor, the 5-in-1 comes with a grill tray. So I'll show you after this asparagus is done. I pre-grilled a pork chop for you guys, so I'll show you that even though I'm not going outdoors, I got a good grill flavor for you. So now that we got the right tray in there, we'll lock that in, and off to the races our 5-in-1 goes, making me look good, giving me a sous chef at home. So guys, that's a little bit about brine. That's a little bit about marinades, you know, kind of how I'm going to use my 5-in-1 to do a little bit of prep. But like I promised, and again, I don't want to take any more time because the real chefs of Monogram are on the line. And I know they have some amazing information to share with us. And I'm going to sit back and listen to Chef Joe and Chef Brian. Guys, again, thank you so much. Take it away.
Hey, Joe, you're not getting out. Stay with us. Stay with us, my friend.
I got you.
We love to grill outside, and you were saying side dishes, side dishes. You kind of said, Joe, hey, bring me some. And I said, will do. You know, when we get together as a family, and that's really what we do when we barbecue, I hate to say it, but there's 5 chefs in my family. And it's not bad. If you're ever here on a weekend, stop by. Come by our house. But, you know, we've got a couple things. I gave you a grilled corn picnic salad. You know, my wife's from Maryland. I'm from Kentucky. And we always fight about who has the best corn. And there's no better ingredient, in my opinion, than to use corn in anything. You can put corn in darn near anything, and we'd eat it here in Kentucky. But this salad is almost like a salsa. You know, it's got fresh tomatoes, it's got cilantro, a touch of cumin, and we've got a great goat cheese down here from Capriole Goat Cheese, a farmstead cheesemaker here in town. And I add a little bit of that to add a little richness. So that's one of my favorites. The big thing on that salad is, you know, I think that you're right. Getting ahead of the game is cool. You know, if I can do it a day or two ahead and let it kind of mature in flavor, that's great. But like adding the cilantro, I may wait on that. If I'm adding zest, I may wait on that just to give it that zest it needs, and it'll be fresh. Because that's so important when you're using fresh herbs and lime zest in that opinion there. I think I gave you a roasted cauliflower, right? I love cauliflower. It's kind of like you know, I was laughing to myself today. It's like when I started in this business so many years ago, you couldn't give away a Brussels sprout. People would look at you like you're crazy. Now, you know, there's not a menu in town that doesn't have Brussels sprouts on it, but you better top it with roasted garlic or bacon or balsamic vinegar, you name it, right? But this is a simple salad. You know, cauliflower is one of those ingredients too. It kind of deepens as you roast in flavor. And that's what, you know, a lot of things do. But this has a magical characteristic. Now, it takes time. You need to roast it in an oven. You know, usually I'd roast it for almost 35, 40 minutes in my pro range here. But if I was using the Evanium, you know, heck, by the time I preheated my oven here, I'd already have it done in a 5-in-1. So I would love to have one of those in my house. I see you may have one there, John, or is that at the MDC? It's at the MDC.
Yeah, I'm back in. They got me tied to the range in Chicago here today. So.
That's all right. I'm going to work here later. But
there's worse things to be tied to.
That's right. That's right. But you know, that it just deepens the flavor. You can add any vinaigrette to this cauliflower, roasted cauliflower. In this case, I used a little bit of mustard. I think that adds a little bit of that picnic character. You know, things like that. You could add a little mayonnaise. I think I added a small bit. But if I was going outdoors and keeping it around like you carry salads for a long time, what, John? Sometimes 2-3 hours. If you're heading to somebody's house, I would just stay with the vinaigrette. And then, you know, I heard you talking about your marinade and your brine. And I was reading your marinade earlier, and it has bourbon, has apple cider. I'm ready for a couple cubes and we're done, my friend. That sounded pretty good. Being from Kentucky, we're happy to see you using a little bourbon on that pork chop. But, you know, that's the way we do it. If you can stage ahead, take the stress out of it. That's what you need to do. And then just focus on that big deal, you know, whatever that is. It could be a hot dog that you're grilling that day. As long as it's a properly awesome looking hot dog, great. It could be I've never had a hot dog I don't like, honestly, but it could be anything. But, you know, stay with that main grill thing you do that day. And I'm sure Brian's got a load of things to say too. I'll let him jump in.
Yeah, Joe. Joe, one thing I wanted to point out on there that really kind of hit home with me, and the thought of it, where I was talking about the sustainability, and you know, sometimes we're buying more vinegar and we need to use it up, and we want to pre-mix everything. But when you said leave the fresh herb maybe out, maybe leave that zest out, that really spoke to me, because that's really important, because that is the flavor pop, that is the freshness, that we add the zest and the fresh herbs at the end because of that reason. So I'm definitely going to take that to heart and remind my customers too, when they're making these marinades, that you know, it's a great base. It doesn't have to stay this way though, does it? You could add the cilantro, you could add the basil, you could add anything to it just to take it up to a new level. So thanks for that. I love that.
Oh, you're welcome.
And then one other thing is, you know, talking about your roasted cauliflower and your roasted Brussels sprouts, and, you know, we may have all dropped out of culinary school or our career if they told us cauliflower was going to be a trend one day. But it is, right? Whether it's in the crust or Korean fried cauliflower or roasted. I mean, we've got some new ovens coming out, and we can kind of do it with the toaster oven setting on here, where we're air frying. And man, I think that cauliflower is just going to go to the next level when we put it in that air fryer.
Yeah, you know, you get that caramelization. Some things will take caramelization. They'll brown up and lend themselves to that. Some things don't. Cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, anything that has a little sugar in it will tend to rosy up and become something just way different than if you just boiled it, which is, God bless my mom, that's the way she did it. But you know, my kids ask for cauliflower. They're all old now, but they still, to this day, you know, they love it, and it blows my mind. So I always love using it because I think it is a crowd pleaser. Try to use things that people like. I don't have to try the latest and greatest thing. I want something that I know that the majority of my guests will like. I want them to feel comfortable and not have to ask. Just relax. It's simple elegance. It's the way it should be. It shouldn't be hard.
Yeah, it's not fine dining, it's fun dining.
Yeah. Well, fine dining's the same way, right, John? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I don't need people to, you know, study the menu. I want them just to order and come in and relax.
I love
And
it.
that's key.
So Brian, what do you got to share with us today? I'm curious about a conversation we had a week ago. So
Yeah.
let's hear it.
Yeah. Well, you know, I love to grill. You know, we have a little better weather maybe down here than you guys do up there, especially in the cooler months. But you know, I don't have a gas grill. I've got just the good old fashioned Weber kettle grill, and I love it. And I have one of the big, you know, well, those green things, we won't call those, but you know, those are great. But you know, the Weber grill is just a classic, and I find myself going to that a lot. Now, here's the downside for me. Whenever I know I'm going to be grilling, is I hate to waste things, right? Especially when we cook for a living. You know, I hate to waste it. And for me, part of that waste is wasting some good charcoal, right? I go out there and I get it all lit, and I'm gonna, you know, I've got a wife, I've got 4 girls, I'm gonna cook for 6 people. You know, I can cook that fairly quickly depending on what we're doing. So now I sit here and I've got another hour and a half of charcoal just burning away it's never going to be able to be utilized. So what I like to do is I'm going to plan my menu, and I want to go out and I'm going to get those proteins that I want to use for the meal we're going to cook. But then I'm also going to get a couple other things. I like to check the sale places, see what's going on there. There may be something that's good. But I like to get 2 or 3 other items as well that I can put in the freezer. Now, what I like to do is get them on the grill, and I want to get them marked. That means my grill's going to be really hot because I'm not really trying to cook these things. I want to just get that nice smoky flavor on there. I want to get them marked, and I want that grill flavor that we all love, right? At that point, I'm going to take them off, and I'm going to continue cooking whatever we're going to have for dinner or lunch, right? I'm going to take the extra stuff that I've marked, and I'm going to let that cool. And then I love your marinades and all that, John. They're great. At that point, you can do a couple of things. I like the Ziploc bag. That's what I use. I use the big freezer bags. I'll throw the meat that I've marked on the grill in there, throw some marinade in, and zip it up, and I'll throw it in the freezer. Make sure you label it. You know, you got to make sure so that you know. And then I'll pull that out and let it defrost in the refrigerator, and then we're ready to go. I can go in the oven. But man, it's so nice to be able to go in the 5-in-1 because it's so quick. And when I get out of that, I challenge you to tell me if that was fresh off the grill, cooked through, or if it just came out of the 5-in-1. You can't tell the difference. And you're going to have that great grilled flavor that only charcoal can give you, right? And the other thing you can do is you don't have to necessarily marinate it in the freezer. You could definitely just, you know, pull that meat. I don't even like to season it, right? Just straight on, no salt and pepper. I'll do that later before it goes in the 5-in-1. But you pull that out and let it, and you can defrost it in that marinade. And as it defrosts, it's going to take on that flavor, and then you're ready to cook. So that's one of the things I like to do, so I don't waste the charcoal. And I love grilled food. I don't have to fire that thing up every day. I've got it in the freezer or the refrigerator ready to go. So I appreciate your marinades. They look delicious.
Oh, I appreciate that tip. You know, being here like 7 years now, I've never done that process. And, you know, it's not a complete backwards way of thinking. It's just hasn't come to light yet. So I'm going to definitely use that and abuse it because it's not just about wasting the food product where you can shop in bulk and now things get cheaper. You also didn't waste your time. You know, because you can marinate and grill off 4 things just as easy as you can one. But the next time when you go to the freezer the day before, you know, what'd you say, 4 girls? I imagine they all just don't do anything in their extracurricular time and they're not a busy household or anything. There might be one day of the week you'd still like to eat well, you just don't have that time. So that's exactly what the 5-in-1 is for, and it's such a great creative step. I can't wait to take that method, put a recipe to it, and I'll send it over to Brian for approval before I release that one, but I'm definitely going to use it. And it's kind of like another method we use in a lot of, or have incorporated into our Monogram cooking with sous vide technology, where we might cook something very slow and then mark it, or we might mark it like you said and then cook it slow. So that's just a cool way of thinking for sure.
Now, the other thing, John, I got to get in there. All right.
Go for it.
My favorite thing to cook in the 5-in-1. All right. So Joe and I have been cooking together for, well, it's about 20 years now. And at the hotel we came from, I know, right? And at the hotel we came from, we had about a $25,000 Henny Penny combi steam oven, and it was great. We cooked all of our roasted meats in there. But I was the pastry chef, not by education. I was not in the pastry department. Joe just put me in the pastry chef position one time, and I'm like, "Are you sure about this? I'm a cook." We've been doing it for a while now, but so we made brownies. And when I came to the Monogram Experience Center, you know, we see this 5-in-1 and we're like, okay, whatever. It can do all that. Yeah, it looks like a microwave, right? So one of the things that I wanted to try is we have a brownie recipe, and I have a brownie recipe that I've had for years, and I love it. And I've got to be honest with you, the 5-in-1 makes brownies better than the $25,000 Henny Penny combi steam oven. It is phenomenal when you add a little bit of microwave to something dense like a brownie. So it's about 18 minutes, and you're going to have a 9x13 of brownies. You can throw that in while you are sitting down to eat. And when you are finished eating, you have warm brownies waiting for ice cream coming out of the 5-in-1. So I don't know if we've sent that recipe to you, but we will. I'll send that over to you, John, so you can get it to people. But it's the recipe I've used for, I don't know, the last 15 years. So.
Listen, Brian, I'm with you. We can make, and I'm not a pastry chef like you are, but you can make all these French buttercreams and make stuffings and fillings and layers and all of that. But you make me a good brownie with a frozen vanilla custard on the top, it's a home run every time. We can leave everything else to the side.
Every time.
That's great. One other comment I wanted to make just on some of the storage stuff, because if we don't store things right, we have the chance of losing them in the freezer, like you said, on the Ziploc bags. Write it down, get that Sharpie out, mark it. We always think when we put something in the freezer, like, oh yeah, this is beef, obviously. I'll remember that the next day.
You won't.
6 months later, when you're chipping the ice off of the freezer at home and you find something, what the heck is there? My wife has even gone as far as I think it's Scotch tape now makes a freezer tape, where you can write on the freezer tape and it never comes off of the freezer tape, but peels off of your glass. If you use glass containers for storage or whatever, comes off really easily. So folks, get some of that. And then, you make sure, like in my case, I eat this year's venison before next year's.
We call it mining for food in our house, John.
Yeah. That's like you put it on the countertop and take the over-under on what it is.
I am guilty of pulling something out of the freezer and going, I don't know what that is, but it looks good. Let's let it thaw out and we'll see what it is.
That's
right?
Every time.
And we'll go from there. I've had some good meals that way. I'm not lying.
Yeah. Well, we already stewed it once, so it's already got to be
Exactly.
Yeah.
Chef, other folks don't think chefs eat like that, and for us to eat something that we've already cooked ourselves once and we make it into something else, we're still doing all right. It's not that cheeseburger from the drive-thru. So now I've got a couple off the cuff questions here for you because, I'm not sure if anybody else is interested, but I am. So we'll ask them. And when you guys are going out to your grill, it's been summer in Louisville for like 6 months now, I think, right? So you've done plenty of grilling. We just got summer a couple of weeks ago. When you're going out to the grill, is there anyone else in your house? I know Joe's got 5 chefs in the family. Is there anyone else that you let cook on your grill, or is it your space?
Oh, I've gotten my oldest daughter. She's grilled a little bit. She's a little interested in cooking, and when the other ones get a little older, we'll get them out there. No, I'm not taking over the grill. I'll let anybody come in there. But I got to be honest. I do tell this story to our guests. It is funny when whenever you have someone over that, you know, they know what you do for a living, but maybe you've never cooked for them before. This has happened a couple of times. And, you know, that big thing that we always teach with guests is when we get our, you know, our meat on the grill, you got to let it, you got to be patient. You got to let it sit, get that caramelization working. You're only going to flip it, you know, maybe 3 times. And I have had some very uneasy people when I drop something on the grill, and, you know, I'll start talking to them, back away, because I want to take my mind off of it too. And after about 30 seconds, they're just looking at you like, I thought you did this for a living. You obviously have no idea what you're doing on that grill. Give me the tongs, all right? And they want to grab, and it's like, relax, it's all right. We let it go. They seem to be happy in the end. They come back again. So, yeah. So, but, you know, if somebody wants to take over, hey, go for it, man. Have some fun.
Yeah, go crazy.
Right.
Now, Joe, one question for you too here. Do you use a different, let's just stick with the grill. If it's not the grill, fill it in there. But do you have a certain work utensil or gadget that you like to bring out to the grill with you that makes life easier or anything like that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, you got to bring an infrared thermometer. I mean, it's hard to tell depending on, you know, how you caramelize that meat, what's going on in the inside. And that goes for any time you cook. People think that, oh, you know, you should be able to control it, touch it, know it. That comes with years of doing it many times. And I'm not sure. And I've been cooking my whole life. So the only way you're going to know is hit those numbers. They're critical. And when you bring it in and you get ready to slice it, you have the confidence, you know, that you're there, it's safe. The most important thing a chef can do is make sure it's safe for your family and your friends. That's number one, right, John? So an infrared thermometer is key. And then, you know, a shower after cooking outdoors, I think, is always in order. You know, I feel always obligated. You were asking if you let our people on the grill. Sure, I'd love for them to cook, but we all know that old Joe becomes smoky bones and he has to come in and shower up afterwards. And why not me than someone else I love? So I usually take the reins on that one.
I love that. And I agree with the both of you on, and I always say, you know, the more butts in the kitchen, the better. Get everybody in here. You know, we don't have all this countertop space so I can spread out. I want to see what people are doing. And that's because, you know, not only do I enjoy cooking with others and enjoy the spaces that Monogram builds, but I learn from people that don't know how to cook. You know, and they make a mistake and I go, never thought of it that way. Or, you know, they share something from their grandmother or father that is done. And I just so enjoy that connection with cooking 100%. And I also agree with you on the temperature probe side. We put temperature probes in our ovens. Our 5-in-1 oven has 170 pre-programmed recipes where we don't need temperature probes. But then folks grab $100 worth of meat and head out to the grill and go, I probably got this, you know, and they just go, 12 minutes on each side. It's got to be mid-rare, right? No, get a temperature probe, put it in there. If you're a tech person, guy or gal, they're Bluetooth capable. You can still sit on the cooler and drink your beer without ever checking your steak, your burger, your pork. So yeah, some of those gadgets definitely will help us out. You guys can see I'm just starting to plate up here. I've got that beef tenderloin looking pretty good. Again, that was cooked in 18 minutes. This is that pork that I started charring up in the 5-in-1 oven. Got a little bit of char there, a little bit of pinkness to the center. Put a little bit of that on the plate. Made a little version of that corn salsa or salad. It's been, you know, it's so fun to talk with other chefs because we have things that brought us to this industry and our food memories. And guys, we've sat down and shared a lot of stories and done a lot of fun things with those memories so far, but they all led us here. And corn kind of led us all here. You know, Michigan does have a few cornfields itself. So this corn salsa really speaks to my soul and kind of plays into some of the stuff that I learned in the South that I didn't learn in the North with the bourbon and the apple cider vinegar, and it just kind of rounds it out. So I do the same thing. I might roast off that corn. There's a roasted corn setting in the 5-in-1 and make that salsa. Just keep it real fresh. Put it on top of your steak if you want. Put it, of course, on that pork. And like Joe and Brian said, make that ahead of time. Let that kind of marinate. There's another word when we put a lot of acidity into something. It's almost like ceviche style, where that acidity kind of cooks in with the corn, macerates, and adds flavor into there. Also, I do my potato salads. Even that, probably that cauliflower salad could be done almost ahead of time. But my potato salad, I just roast everything right there in the 5-in-1, mix it up ahead of time. I actually added the herbs in yesterday. I think with Joe and Brian's conversation today, I'm going to chop up the fresh herbs, or at least portion them out next time, leave them on the side, and then sprinkle them on top and mix them in right day of. Put a little potato salad on the plate. So the idea here, guys, is we got a lot of flavor imparted into this dish. There's, you know, smoked flavor. There's fresh flavors with the tomatoes. The asparagus that roasted in the 5-in-1, that only took 7 minutes, no preheat time. There is no better value in roasted asparagus than having it done in 7 minutes without ever having to touch it. I've roasted hundreds of thousands of sticks of asparagus in my life, and I don't really pat myself on the back anymore when they come out good. I just expect that they do. The Advantium, or sorry, the 5-in-1 is my sous chef, so it accomplishes that for me. But the other cool thing is here, when we think ahead, my kitchen is kind of cleaned up. You know, the work for my potatoes, the work from peeling the corn and all those, what are those corn threads or corn hairs, whatever we call them, they're not stuck in the bottom of my sink the day of. All of that work and mess is gone. So then, a couple hours before guests arrive, I'm not thinking about the prep work, I'm thinking about the presentation. I'm thinking about how to make my guests excited about what they're seeing instead of just hacking into everything, throwing it all on a platter, which is fine, don't get me wrong. But if you don't cook all the time, or if you do cook all the time, it might give you some great pleasure and enjoyment into the cooking journey that you just took to take the time and plate your barbecue, you know, put it together. I always have a problem with this part. There we go. You know, put it together, get a nice platter, and give everybody a plate. Then chop everything up crazy willy-nilly and put it in a big bowl and put it on the buffet and let them go back for it if they want. If it's just a get together though, stick with the basics, let everybody set themselves up. Plenty of salt and pepper on the side. And then when you find out that you love that marinade, always make more of it. Keep it in the refrigerator, last you a couple of months at least, depending on what you're putting in there. Now, guys, are there any questions out there? Courtney, Corwin, you guys got anybody on the line that needs to know something?
I have a question. And then I'll check the chat. Maybe there's a question there too.
Oh, so this is just for you?
It's personal, yeah. It's
okay,
personal. Two things actually. So the first one, you know, I think this summer we're all going to be spending a lot more time outside. Here in Chicago, people have just been kind of gathering in parks because that's really all that we can do. There's not a lot open. So what do you recommend from like a safety perspective? Like I noticed that the corn salad was like a vinegar, olive oil based. Is that a better option? Obviously, I would say it's more stable to take to an outdoor picnic than like a mayonnaise based dish. I mean, is that what you would recommend if you're going to be outside for a little while? If you're grilling out, if you're taking stuff with you, take something that's in a vinaigrette. Is that a little safer to take with you? I don't know. Does that make sense?
It does. You know, everybody's got a great cooler these days too. Usually you want to keep it in a box of about 2 hours. If you go beyond 2 hours when you're moving it and carrying it and having it out, then you start having problems with you know, things like multiplying bacteria, doing that kind of stuff. But usually the health department, if you're going by the book, gives you about 2 hours. So you could do either one, but vinegars help a lot. I would go that way most of the time.
Thank you. Good to know. My other question, Chef John, is maybe a little more of a hack. So I don't have a grill, and I see that Pro Range behind you, and I thought I saw someone, you might tell me this is a bad idea, actually grill their corn like on a gas top on like a Pro Range. Is that something? Are you going to tell me no, Courtney, that's dangerous, don't do that? Or is that something I could do?
I think all the chefs on the call will start out by saying cooking's a dangerous sport. So once you get past that, then it's all just fun. You know, you may lose a part of a finger or catch your hair on fire a couple of times, but that's okay. It depends on that can make a pretty good mess on your range, your home range, I think, when those corn kernels burst and get a little, there's a lot of sugars in there that burn on. I don't think it's a no-no, that's a personal preference. You know, if you had an indoor grill on your pro range, absolutely. I know you can put just a little char on there maybe without making a mess, and then maybe you would stop, just like we would do like some corn tortillas. Kind of comes from that idea where we crisp up our corn tortillas over an open flame. But it might be a little careful. Do you guys have another feeling on that, Joe Brian?
Yeah, well, for me, I mean, if you're gonna want that charred flavor of corn, if you don't have the grill, unless you're just like, I really got to have corn on the cob, then I would take it off, cut it off, and then get your pan really hot and go in there. They're gonna kind of pop a little bit, so you might need to have, like I use one of those screens, you know, that just goes over that keeps the grease from popping out, and that'll keep those kernels in, because some will pop and they'll, you know, if they land on you, they're very hot. So if you do want that charred flavor, get that pan really nice and hot, add your corn, a little oil in your corn, salt and pepper, and let it set so you get that char, and then start stirring it and cook it the way you want it. That's one option for you.
Yeah.
That sounds like a much better, safer for this inexperienced chef way to go. So I'm going to give that a try. I don't see any other questions. Any final thoughts? Oh, Corwin has one.
I also have a personal question about asparagus. My mom has this really wonderful asparagus recipe, and it's roasted, and you put a nice big chunk of brie on top with some balsamic glaze. I'm pretty sure she has to blanch the asparagus before putting it into the oven. Do you have to do that when you're roasting in the 5-in-1?
It's probably not necessary for that recipe. We'd have to work on that one and set up a custom recipe for that with the introduction of asparagus and possibly the brie at the same time. Blanching your asparagus, I would say, is probably more of the proper way to serve it, as it locks in the color and some of the nutrients and ensures a proper cooking time or a quicker cooking time. I'd have to look and see how thick of the brie she's putting on there. But if you're going to take that recipe, which blanching is the process of boiling water, putting your asparagus down in it, and then shocking it in a cold ice bath, you know, you might not come home on a Wednesday night and get the asparagus recipe going and put the brie on it. You might come home on a Wednesday, get some asparagus into the 5-in-1, slice up some brie, and get out a nice snack. So yeah, you wouldn't have to do that. We could do a side-by-side comparison, and you could probably find one that's better than one way might taste better than the other, or appearance-wise, with that color locked in of blanching it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if you typically always had to blanch asparagus before roasting it.
Joe, right? No.
No, I don't think so. But if your mom's coming, you better do it the way she taught you.
Advice from the chef. I like that.
Absolutely.
My mom had an opinion about everything, so do it the way you were taught.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think when we make that in the showroom, we'll just add a little bacon to it. We'll be all set.
Perfect.
All right. Anything else out there, guys? No?
Thank you, guys.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed the culinary conversation today. I know that I really, really was looking forward to having Joe and Brian on the line. We've been separated from our chef counterparts for far too long now, and we've been separated from tasting what's good coming out of their kitchen. So to sit down and chat with you guys has been a true pleasure. I hope everyone else out there has something to take away. I hope that you'll share your grilling and your success stories with us on online, Instagram, wherever it is. We'd love to see that. If you ever have any questions, you know where to find us. We're always here to help you. So Joe and Brian, if you don't have anything else to say, thank you so much.
Thank you, John. It was a lot of fun.
Our pleasure, guys. Let's do it again next Thursday.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right. Take care, guys.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.